Hey, listener. Thanks for your patience as we have gathered and prepared to wrap up Season 5. We can't say thank you enough for those of you who have joined us on the journey, followed us on social media, became our sponsors, donated to our scholarships, or joined us at multiple in-person meetups or conferences. And a big thanks for all those who have tuned in weekly. What started as a conversation for our own mental health and friendship has continued to be sweetened by your feedback and participation. Thank you to everyone. As we wrap up Season 5, we are joined by our former guest, Jeff Achee, Assistant Director of Parks and Recreation for the City of Pflugerville, Texas, to help us reflect and ask questions from our listeners about our thoughts on the previous season. The conversation was rich and full enough that we have divided it into 2 parts. We hope you enjoy the show.
Hey RecLess fans, this is Tom here, and I'm proud to announce that this episode and all of Season 5 is brought to you by our friends at Civic Plus. For all of our Parks and Rec pros, do you ever feel like you're constantly putting out fires? Registrations, facility bookings, team calendars, it's nonstop juggling. And all that admin work, it's keeping you from what really matters, serving your community. That's where Civic Plus comes in. Their comprehensive parks and recreation management solution streamlines everything, from online registration to facility scheduling and payments, all in one place. Parks and Recreation Management by Civic Plus automates the busy work that bogs you down so you can spend less time on paperwork and more time creating unforgettable programs for your residents. Civic Plus is the trusted partner of thousands of high-performing civic leaders, helping them balance better services with limited resources. With over 25 years of experience and a team of 900 experts, Civic Plus powers over 10,000 organizations and touches 340 million lives every day. If you're ready to trade burnout for impact, then visit civicplus.com. The best-run local governments run on Civic Plus technology. And now, on with the show.
Welcome to Season 5 of RecLess, the podcast making you smarter and more knowledgeable about the field of parks and recreation. Your hosts are Shane Mize, Jay Tryon, and Tom Venniro, 3 career-long friends from across the country bringing you a surprise guest each episode. Listen in on a great conversation, maybe take some notes, and definitely enjoy a couple of laughs. This is RecLess.
Hello, boys.
Hey, dude.
You look so serious.
You don't look like you're off today.
Dude, I just saw you a while
I'm
ago.
not. I am working. We're fully open today. It's not a holiday for us. Oh, okay. Let me ask you a question. I was having a conversation with my wife yesterday about this because she's off today. My question to you guys that I asked her, and she didn't have an answer, but she's like, I don't care, I'm off. What is President's Day? And what are we actually celebrating?
You see a lot of other recognitions around other days. I mentioned MLK, I bet Veterans Day, but there's nothing that we do as a society for President's Day. But it's true. A holiday. It's probably the most political thing I've ever talked about in any conversation with these guys. Because I do not talk politics.
It's true. Looks like we found your hot take.
Okay, that's all. I'm done.
It's probably safe.
But we got him. Hot take, Jay.
I actually do have a hot take the more I thought about it. So I take back my text message. Maybe I'm not typically one, but since you gave me time, if you would have said it on the spot, I'm not sure what I would have said.
This is episode 99, by the way.
As long as I can still just debate Shane's hot take. That's all I care about.
Yeah.
That was the plan with the idea. So
it wouldn't matter if I said the fucking sky is blue. You're going to debate my hot take. So
it's pretty gray.
It's not always blue. It's definitely not always blue.
I'm so excited.
It wasn't blue in Wisconsin the whole time. So
wait, we were really supposed to have a hot take?
Oh yeah.
We'll let you go first, Tom.
Okay.
This is gonna be fun, dudes. Thanks for having me, by the way.
It's exciting.
Just said, no, this is my job.
Well, you didn't know this.
Back off.
This is an interview to take a spot.
Mine.
Yeah.
Shane's spot. That's a lot of pressure. I gotta up my cuss words.
For sure.
Yeah.
All right, I'll drop a few today. You guys ready to start then?
Yeah, it's your intro.
Weird being on this end, yeah. All right.
Should I interrupt him?
Please don't. Here's
Probably
the deal.
not.
I prepped something too because I didn't want to forget any of your incredible guests. So
Oh,
do not interrupt me, please.
well, we'll see.
This is my show. The rest of the week, rest of the work week is your show. Okay.
Gotcha.
This is my time.
Welcome to RecLess.
This is the season 5 RecLess wrap up episode 99. You guys ever think you'd be here? 99
No.
episodes?
I hoped I
Honestly,
wouldn't.
no way. No way we thought we'd get to 99.
If anybody says yes, they're lying.
Well, I'm Jeff Achee, longtime listener, second time caller, joined by Jay, Tom, and Shane. What's up, fellas?
What's up?
Excited to do this. This is going to be a little twist to us today, Jeff. Thanks for doing it for us.
Of course. You're welcome. Yeah, we got
us
some
on our
fun
toes.
ones.
Let's not
Got
thank
some
him
fun
yet.
ones.
He may shit the bed.
Oh, that's true.
True.
That's true. It's happened before. Shane has seen it.
Mhm.
I'm obviously not normally part of RecLess. I just get to host this one. But watching what you guys have built here is really impressive. So I was talking to Hannah, got some information. So season 5 alone had thousands of listens across the US, Canada, and internationally. I think there's a couple countries, some folks listening to
Yeah.
y'all for some reason.
Mm.
You got some great sponsors this year. You had NRPA, Next Practice Partners, Rec Technologies, Barry Dunn, RVI, Civic Rec. And because of that, we're able to give out more than $5,000 in scholarships for young and emerging professionals.
Hey, that's awesome.
Yeah,
I don't think I knew that full number.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Pretty incredible. So it's an actual tangible impact you guys are having on the industry. I know you three don't like patting yourselves on the back, so that's typically Hannah's job and my job today. But I did want to first say, I was listening to the recap of season 4, and you mentioned we're not Joe Rogan or we're not one of these other big podcasts yet. But I have seen firsthand what this means to people to talk to you guys about the podcasts, and it's pretty incredible. So just a side note, I reached out to an author of a book that I love called Palaces for the People. All Parks and Rec professionals should be reading it. And he reached back out. And to me, it was like, this guy's a celebrity. I can't believe he's reaching back out to me. But he's an NYU professor. He wrote a book that's really good for us. And I think that y'all have that same impact on people. People listen to this, you know, they get to know you. They've got questions prepared for you. I've seen Shane approached by people at our state conference, and you guys all approached by people at NRPA. So the impact y'all have on the industry, pretty incredible. So this season, there was some consistent threads around growth, but not just climbing the ladder, growth in how we think about the industry. So you had Chase Ellis talking about doing professional development differently. You had Craig Bauk reminding us that a lot of the most passionate and innovative people in the industry come from the private sector. Craig's incredible.
Mhm.
You had J. Cole basically proving that a mistake can end up turning into something beautiful. Shane,
Yes.
there was
Is
some
that
big
about my birth? Is that what you're saying?
there's several ways we can go with it. Sure.
Is, is that my origin story?
There was some big leadership mindset conversations, especially around what it actually takes to lead at a high level, not just holding a title. And then there was a theme that maybe unintentionally kept popping up, which is the wild things people are willing to do for this profession, like Gabby Vera's commute, which made me realize I can never complain about mine. Melissa Lockwood going from public to private and traveling the world to do it. Heavenly Smith talking about perseverance. Brandon Washington transitioning leadership styles into Parks and Rec. These aren't easy paths. People are choosing this work intentionally and sometimes at a pretty great personal cost to them and their families. There was also a strong undercurrent of support systems discussions. So you had Allie Rhodes talking about building one for yourself, even if you stay within the same agency for your career. Christine Stratton talked about building one for the entire industry and how hard that can be. Hashem Taylor gave perspective on that same thing from the NRPA board. Chris Hunter, the chief cheerleader of Parks and Recreation. Nate Sally creating space for others. Karen O'Donnell on motivation, your own and others. And then you had the political and leadership reality side. So you had Molly Keys talking about having to navigate local politics as a young director. Bernita Reese believing enough in her community to bring NRPA to Columbus and then getting us all really excited about it. So I can't wait to go to Columbus. Antonio Murphy talking about owning your experiences and being willing to share them. Bill Cheerhart on intentionality. Chad Hopfer stepping into new leadership experiences. And then you had the cross-contamination of the Open Space Radio team and the RecLess team, reminding us how important it is to tell our story. And it was an incredible season, both online and in person, with maybe a too popular social at Top Golf in Orlando.
In a way, yes.
Yeah.
But it was a season about maturity, about the profession growing up a little bit, about leadership, support, belief in yourself and in this field. So today we're going to look back a little bit, but also have some fun and ask questions of the guys who spend a lot of time asking questions of others. So with all that being said, Jay, who were you cheering for in the Super Bowl?
Oh, no doubt. I was all Seattle. It was great.
Seattle.
I was thrilled to see them just dominate.
Sorry, Tom.
Fine.
Have y'all talked
He's
about this
fine.
on a pod yet?
With
Shane's wearing his Seahawks shirt.
We were together 2 days before, so he knew that was gonna be
We
my
took
team.
photos. I rubbed some salt into some old wounds
He did.
several times.
He did.
And so I guess I had it coming. But, it's just a game. It's just a game.
That's the coping mechanism.
The
Coping
Patriots,
mechanism.
they've won a few. I've gotten to celebrate. Shane deserves his. And Jay, maybe someday in your lifetime,
boy.
you'll get yours. So I'm happy for people who are happy. And Shane, if you're happy, I'm happy. Look at this smile. This is real.
I'm happy today, brother.
By happy, he means he hasn't taken that shirt off in 3 weeks. So
That's right.
Yeah, seriously. You're very intentional about your clothing and your attire. I've noticed this. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
all right. So going sort of big picture, or it can be small or tangible. What stood out to you from season 5? Shane?
I think, and I've learned this more and more, and I love it about leadership. I love it about our industry. We've talked about it before. I think in some ways leadership's like making chocolate chip cookies.
Here we go. Famous metaphor.
All
Let's do
right.
it.
My grandmother passed a couple years ago, and she made my favorite chocolate chip cookie. And when she died, the recipe died with her. We kind of observed what she did. She'd tell you what she did. But even if I had the recipe, I couldn't recreate it to the T that she did it, because I don't have her oven. I don't have her cooking pan. I don't have the humidity of San Antonio. All that is involved. There was a gentleman, he moved to Missouri City. He deconstructed his pizza oven that he used in Brooklyn, New York, moved to Missouri City because his family was moving to the area and he wanted to support the area, reconstructed the same pizza oven in a brand new building, made the same pizza the same way. And I remember asking him one day, it was called Brooklyn. He named this restaurant Brooklyn Pizza. And I said, is this like it is in New York? And he said, no, it's not even close. The water is different. The humidity is different. The other cooks that I had are different. And so like leadership's that same way. And what I love about this podcast is that I get to pull things that enrich my cookie recipe. And my chocolate chip recipe is going to be different than Tom's, going to be different than Jay's. It has to be thought of. Like if I go to Jeff's family's house and Jeff's grandmother has a chocolate chip cookie recipe, it's probably Jeff's favorite chocolate chip cookie. Same thing with y'all. Same thing with anybody else's. Like you've all experienced how different a cookie can taste, and you literally compare it to something you grew up with. And I think leadership's the same way. I think we cook our quote unquote cookie recipe or our leadership style for the audience that we're cooking it for. We take in mind what we like. And I think leadership's a lot of the same way. And I love pulling things from different things that enrich my own recipe, but it's not theirs. It's mine. And it could never be theirs. I could never just take it. We've talked about it. Never could take Chris Nunes' leadership style or whatever, just do it in my own. And that's kind of what I like about leadership, is that whether you're trying to steal or not, it's going to taste different. It's going to feel different. And you couldn't recreate it if you tried. So those that just go off on their own, I think are the ones that really enjoy this beautiful thing we get to do, where we get to lead people. And now I'm hungry for chocolate chip cookies.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. It's great as a listener to hear people's perspectives on leadership. And I think young professionals and experienced professionals can learn this too, that you should listen and learn and take what you can and maybe implement some things, but that it's all about what works for you your community, whatever.
And you can still fuck it up. You can forget the eggs, and all of a sudden it's a terrible cookie, or you can not use the right flour, and not put the flour in the right spot. And you can try to sample it different. Sometimes you see someone make a cake and it looks terrible. In every phase, you would never like the taste of it until it's completely baked. And I think there's something about that in leadership as well. I think we've all led in phases where year one or year two of us turning the department around isn't to everyone's taste. And you have the vision that just trust it. I haven't put it in the oven yet. It hadn't baked. It hadn't come out. It hadn't rested, whatever it is. And I think that's what's really cool about this is that we get to do. I get to see it with Hannah now. Hannah's kind of stepped in this leadership capacity, and she's observed 100 episodes of editing these things. But I'm seeing her lead her way, and I see elements of me. I also see elements of Tom and Jay because she can't help but be influenced by Tom and Jay and the 100 guests that we've had. But it's still hers, and that's what's really cool about leadership.
Hey, Jay, Tom, what are some of the reflections and hearing of the guests y'all have had over the last several episodes?
Yeah, first of all, your intro, your lead-in, the preparation that you did was
Way
pretty
better
damn good.
than
Really,
anything.
really good.
Way better.
Inspiring. You've clearly went back and listened to these episodes and really brought up you kind of refresh my mind on a lot of the places we've been and the conversations we had. And I think what Shane said, you can carry on that theme and really pick that up for all 5 seasons. This season in particular, especially given your lead-in, I've also realized, and I want to, maybe give another metaphor. It's like a coloring book. I'm just kidding. I'm ready.
Let's go.
I just want to pull something out of the air like Shane does.
Yeah,
No,
metaphor
realistically,
envy.
I do. You're so good at it. So you mentioned a couple individuals, Heavenly, Chris Hunter, Gabby, and one of the themes that I feel like was really, really heavy and really makes me feel special about the work that we do is the passion and where it comes from. So similar to the leadership that Shane mentioned, that there's a different recipe, there's a different type of passion for this profession. There's a hunger for the profession that I think you'd be hard pressed to find in other professions, such as, again, I don't want to pigeonhole any of the other professions out there, but I do feel that these individuals are telling their stories and cheerleading all the time, constantly for what we do. And it's all on the basis of having an impact in other people's lives. I think about the Chris Hunter episode. Having an impact on the people that we serve is huge. But he put it so well, or does it so well, of having an impact on the people that he serves in his agency. And that drives him. The Gabby Vera piece. Ultimately, Gabby, I believe, mentioned she wants to go back home if she can. But she's out in Arizona driving 4 hours a day, or is it one way? It's wild that's the lengths that we would go through to do the work that we do. And I think we can all agree we're typically not the highest compensated profession out there, right? This isn't a work. We're not getting max contracts like half of the Spurs roster is about to after this year. By the way, they look pretty darn good right now, Jeff. You got to be happy about that.
Don't worry, there's a section.
There's a section. Okay, good. So yeah, that's what's really stood out to me is these individuals that we get to talk to are inspiring people who are listening. Being able to relate to the stories and understand that we've talked about this, Jay. We've had this conversation. I think we generated a session based on our why. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I think we all have this basic why that we're doing the work of the people. And we're trying to create these experiences for many of the individuals we don't even know, and sacrificing experiences that we might be able to have in our time at these events that are off hours or off typical hours. So yes, that's maybe the general why that we're providing these experiences, but there's so much more. It's so much deeper, and it's very inspirational. If people just are able to listen to these episodes and understand some of the backgrounds that our guests have had and the lengths, again, that they're willing to go to do this work, it's pretty impressive and incredible.
So I don't know how to top the two of those things that were just talked about because I would agree with everything Shane said. I agree with everything Tom said. The first thing that was coming to my mind when Jeff was going through some of the names, and I got the names in front of me too, is, and we kind of have this every season, but I am just continued to be so impressed with a lot of our future leaders. And I hate to even use the term future leaders because they're leaders now, but they're at a point in their career that you would think that they've been in the field for 25 years. You mentioned Gabby, Molly Keys. You think about folks, Heavenly's just, I think recently she just got a promotion. So all these different folks that we've had on here that probably still fall under the YPN, age frame, but you would never know it by the conversations you have with them. They're so well spoken, they're so accomplished, and they are truly going to be just a wrecking force in this industry. And I love seeing that. I don't think, as much as we all had a lot of accomplishments like early in our career, I think I became a director when I was 30. And I still don't think that I was close to where they are now doing the things they're doing. I wasn't, leading different sessions, speaking at conferences then like they are now, and being involved with outside groups like they are now. I love that. I think that's awesome. I think that provides a lot of excitement for the more up and coming folks that were not even known yet, the folks that are 24 years old getting their first job, or maybe 25 getting their first promotion, and they're seeing that, hey, their director is 30, 33, 34 years old. They're speaking nationally, they're leading these committees. Like, that is so inspiring to so many other people. And I think it's so exciting. And I know we've had conversations with Allie and Karen and others this year as well, or this season, that like they're committed to work with them, or they're their mentors, or they've, been involved in some capacity. And it's kind of this everyone gives back mentality, which I love. And we've talked about that. But I think the thing that has definitely stood out for one of the most things this season is just this strength and that we're seeing for future leaders that are continuing to just grow, but also grow others. We talk a lot this past year about the current YPN and how they're different than our YPN when we were in that group. And the things they're doing now are just, it might be a different version of what we did, but they're just taking it to the next level. And that's so exciting. And I'm sure that, like I said before, folks that are just entering the profession, man, they got something to look up to. And it's so exciting for them.
Yeah, we kind of talked about it before, Jay. It's almost like, NFL coaches right now, you look at those hires, you're seeing them go to a younger, data-driven, a specific, and we're seeing that in our industry as well. City management level, we see it. We see it at the ACM level. We're definitely seeing it in our industry, Parks and Rec. I think these names that you mentioned, Meredith and others, are already directors or will be directors, and we say they're leaders. They're leaders. I don't know how to say this without it coming off condescending. They're small L leaders in the sense that they're leading their departments or some of the things, but they're about to be big L leaders in the fact that they're leading industry, right? And so, like, at some point, we're going to see them, and that we're seeing that transition right now. It's like wildfire in some ways. It's really catching in some capacity that they're leading teams, they're leading groups, they might be leading a region or even a state association. They're fixing to be leading the whole damn thing, and that's what's super exciting about it, is because they're so impressive in their poise. I find I talk a lot about young professionals and poise. That wasn't something I ever mentioned about young professionals. No one ever said, "Wow, see that Shane Mize? Look at the poise on that guy." That was not the term that was used to describe him. Yeah. All these young professionals seem poised. They seem calm. They seem very self-confident in their leadership ability, their vulnerability. What they know, what they are. They know what they aren't. I'm just terribly impressed by them.
Yeah, you can even look at, I think it'd be fascinating if you looked at NRPA program statistics to see, I don't know if you can pull this, but go back 15, 20 years and the average session presenter age versus what you're seeing now. And then even think about the Young Professional Fellowship or the externship.
That's had huge impact on these people, I believe.
Huge impact. Huge. And it's so coveted now. And maybe it even goes back to, you can broaden it a little bit. The 30 under 30 has elevated these individuals.
Absolutely.
And you already know who they are when they're announced for those when they receive those awards. And I feel that I can go back to when I was the young professional fellow. My assumption is that there were 4 applicants and there was 4 recipients.
Right. Yeah.
And now that there's, you just have this list of names of who's. It's got to be so competitive, and you hear the names announced and you're excited because you've already heard of these individuals. You know they're doing great things. That's a really great point, Jay.
Well, and like you mentioned 30 under 30, and I'll be honest, like, and I think I've told you this, several of our guests, not just this fast season, but in other seasons, like I did not know them. I go through that list and I'm like, I read their bio and I see their accomplishments. I'm like, they would be great on the show. Let's have that person on because that conversation is going to be really impactful. And they're already doing great things, or else they wouldn't be recognized by NRPA for 30 under 30. So, and there's others that I already have lined up like that for season 6. And I love those conversations because, they're being recognized amongst that group of reviewers and panelists for 30 under 30. They already have probably several awards from their state association. Like, let's shoot them even higher and make sure that others can see the great things they're doing.
Yeah, it's almost like becoming a prerequisite. Like when you see someone that's impressed you, you see, to Tom's point, they were either a fellowship winner or an externship winner. You see, to Jay's point, they were probably also a 30 under 30 before that. And so it's these guideposts that they're just like, check, 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 check. And that's the type of thing that we're like, yeah, that person is on their way.
Yeah.
And before Jeff goes in, Jeff's a part of that group as well. And Jeff, you've got a lot under your belt, obviously a lot of experience, but same thing. You've received those, and we already knew the name. I mean, I remember eating lunch with you and Shane before you were working in Pflugerville.
In Phoenix?
And yeah, in Phoenix at the pizza place that I can't remember the name, that was supposed to be the best pizza place in all of Arizona. And I'm not going to give any kind of review right now.
Oh, boy. Good pizza.
It was good pizza. It was good pizza. There was a good appetizer we had as well. Anyway, individuals like Jeff putting themselves in that position. And it's funny, right, to think of now Shane was kind of scouting you this whole time too, it seems.
Yeah. I learned that started long before I knew. So
creepy. That's creepy.
Yeah, very creepy.
He calls me Uncle Shane.
Okay, got weirder.
Okay, where do we go from there? I think this, I don't want to sell, and this is going back to y'all's impact. I don't want to sell it short. That I think the awareness of these things from y'all's podcast has absolutely increased engagement in 30 under 30 and the awards, the scholarships to go to NRPA, because you were getting this information previously from, maybe you read an article in NRPA. You talk to, we've obviously seen that people were impacted by a supervisor that might have gone through similar things. And I'd known Shane for several years before working for him, and he encouraged me to do that. And he became, my director and has encouraged that too. But if you didn't have that, someone who's maybe involved either at the state or national level, you probably weren't hearing it unless you were reading articles in the magazine or really trying to engage online somehow. But y'all's podcast and being able to hear from different professionals and maybe the impact that those things have had on them have absolutely driven, the amount of applications. I don't have any data on that. I just know in talking to people, they've heard about these things more now because this has provided an accessibility that wasn't there before. So I do think y'all deserve a lot of credit for the conversation around this. That sort of leads perfectly into the next question. So
credit. It's time for credit.
Yes. There's a couple more questions on your credit, Shane.
Yes.
Keep patting you on the back. One person I didn't mention in the intro because he's part of this question is John Winters, who started the Rec Network recently, was one of your recent guests. And he and I spent a lot of time in Corpus Christi at the TRAPS conference this last week together. Great guy. But again, I think that happened because I heard him talk for a little over an hour about what he's been doing with the Rec Network and what he's doing in his agency and just sort of learned more about him. And so it sort of slingshots you into connection with somebody once you've learned about him. I've now got John on our legislative committee. John's gonna let me know. Yeah, sucker. John's gonna let me know when he's down in my area so we can go play golf. And that connection happened because of y'all's podcast. There's another story I would like to tell from season 5, and I want to know if y'all have heard other stories like this. But I was in the NRPA advocacy committee meeting with Christine Stratton. We were sitting right next to each other, And then the meeting ended, so we got to talking, and I got to talk to her about being a deadhead. I learned that from your podcast. She mentioned another band that she's been traveling to see. I knew exactly who she was talking about. She never mentioned the name of this band. It's called Goose. So then I said, hey, is the other
You're
band
making
you've
it
been
up.
traveling to see
Yeah,
Goose?
definitely.
Nope. Ask her about it. And so we talked for 20 or 30 minutes about seeing the Grateful Dead, how incredible that experience is, and then her traveling to see Goose. I'm curious if y'all have heard other stories like that of folks learning something about someone from your podcast and then providing connections.
Yeah, well, there's one that I'll make it quick because it's obvious to us, the three of us anyway. We've probably talked about this before, but Trista Taylor was a former guest. By the way, big shout out to Trista as the chair of the Wisconsin Parks and Recreation Association conference. She, her and her team put on an incredible show. I mean, it was really awesome. So they did a wonderful job. They brought great people in. So Trista was already doing great things, right? She was already working for the association. Now she was listening to the podcast. I think some people maybe are hesitant, or maybe they're not, but Trista certainly wasn't, to comment on when we would have a guest. And so Trista became one of those individuals who we now are interacting with, and we had never met Trista before. So fast forward to 24, the conference in 24, we met Trista, and we met her at
Our first social.
first
Yeah.
social, or first gathering. Trista was taking pictures with a few of the former guests. She had connected with some individuals. I think Nathan Fort, Hashim Taylor, who wasn't a guest at the time, but she had known him from one way or another. And either way, Trista is phenomenal at this. She has listened to these episodes. She'll hear something about someone on a personal level that connects with her, including the three of us. I know that for a fact. She will then go out and make a connection, whether it's asking someone to connect them or just doing it on her own, finding an email address, and then maybe obtaining a phone number. And she'll shoot random texts about. So for me, it's we talk a little bit of sports here, I think, a little. And I'm more of a baseball guy than, say, Shane. And I know Jay's got some baseball roots too. Tristan and I talk baseball all the time. I mean, it's spring training's coming up. It just started. Pitchers and catchers just reported. So she's always texting me. If she's going to a Brewers game or if I'm going to a Red Wings game, we'll send each other photos with our kids. She's got Rooney at a Brewers game, had an awesome experience. She shared it with me that night. So yeah, that does happen. That's really cool. That's a byproduct again that I would have never imagined, because our primary focus is to talk about the industry, leadership, what we're doing on the day to day. But one of my favorite parts of every episode is either the intro or rapid fire, where we start to ask questions and learn a little bit on the personal side of each of these guests. And yeah, I think that's a great point, Jeff, to see that if they do happen to meet, whether it's at a conference or some way down the road, there's almost these little touch points that it rings a bell that, oh, you know what? You were talking about food in El Paso. Love it. Whatever it is.
The connection that I've heard from others that Trista has made with people that are on the podcast or met through a podcast is pretty incredible. On a different level or a different area, I see context of different comments that are on LinkedIn all the time. And I think I texted the group a couple weeks ago when I saw one, and it was, Allie posted when she was on, and then, we had a comment or a question during that one about like your dinner of 4 people. Everyone that was listed from Allie's answer, like, commented in that text chain or in the response chain from the LinkedIn post. And it was just, seeing these connections that are just like kind of happening in front of you through a post on LinkedIn. And then knowing that you're bringing those people together in some capacity that might spark a conversation or might spark, hey, let's catch up next week. Let's have a call because your name was mentioned on the podcast. Like, things like that is really neat to see. And it happens almost weekly. And these are the things that, Shane and Tom and I talk about really often, that like we never expected or thought of those, outcomes of this. But it's something that happens on a regular basis that has been really exciting to see on a, almost weekly when we post these on LinkedIn.
Connecting other people, it's a byproduct. It was an afterthought for us.
Yeah, we definitely didn't think about it in that way. Allie's a great episode or a great example. Jay, because I don't know if we all had quite a reverence for Boulder, but none of us really knew her. And we see her at Disney, but we see her because she's with Janet. But she was I don't want to say fangirling, but she knew us and knew, and she was like, Shane's wearing a Disney hat. That's not like she knew enough. I was like, wow, she's listened to some episodes. No, she's listened to a lot of episodes. And
Yeah.
Jeff, you mentioned John. I was connected to John because one of his incredible young professional leaders, Margie, who had hopped on a call that Jeff and I were doing for the future young professional branch of Traps. And she said in the comments, because Jeff had asked, why are you even here? Why are you listening to us to talk about anything? And she was like, I learned about this through my boss who knows Shane through RecLess or whatever. And so I reached out to her, and she's talking about on a rocket ship. She's 30 under 30 and the Traps text turn this year. And I think there's no doubt she'll be a future fellow and extern winner as well. But I connected to John because of that relationship. So it's like Tom said, there's just all these it's just this incredible little network. And we had Melissa on. Jeff, you mentioned Melissa earlier, and she's been all over Dubai and, is in the Bahamas and one of Jay's favorite resort destinations, one of the top 10 probably resorts in the world. And Michael Bedenstein reached out to us and was like, oh, Shelly. She was at that time a young park and rec professional who helped Michael Bedenstein when he was a young professional. And she was a legacy in the state because her dad was this 30-year park and rec professional. And hell, she didn't even go by Melissa. Then she went by Shelly. She's Shelly to Michael, and so there's this person that, I had some connection with. Tom and Jay didn't know it all, but we all know Michael Bedenstein, all four of us. And Michael has this incredible heartfelt connection with Shelly because she was helping him out when he was growing at first. And it's just cool to see all the this is a really small world when you break it down in some ways. And it's really cool to be reminded of that.
We'll be right back.
A portion of today's episode of RecLess is sponsored by RVI Planning and Landscape Architecture, the team that believes every great place begins with a story. For more than 40 years, RVI has partnered with clients and communities to design parks, trails, campuses, and communities that bring people closer to nature and each other. Their work goes beyond design. It's about creating places that inspire creativity, tell a story, and make everyday life better. Learn more about how RVI is shaping the next generation of great public places at rviplanning.com. That's rviplanning.com. Now back to the show.
You mentioned Allie, so we've got a listener question. Allie from Boulder says, the guys have talked to a lot of people at this point. What's the first thing that comes to mind for each in response to this prompt? What is one thing you learned that you've carried into your work? She also added, go Hawks. Sorry, Tom.
Love it. Well, her husband's a Seattle fan, so she had to.
Yeah. I was going to say you could have left that out, but that's fine.
Well, she put it, so I have to say it.
Yeah. No, it's okay.
I think going back to what we were talking about, where leadership's kind of a recipe, it's not a big thing, right? I haven't tried to implement some huge thing, but I've stolen a bunch of little things to enrich my own recipe and philosophy and leadership. And I think at Tom O'Rourke, my presentations to council are different because of something I stole from Tom O'Rourke. And my presentations to council, Jeff, are also different because some of the stuff I stole from Johnny O in previous episodes. And so it's a small portion of what I am projecting in my leadership style and how we manage and how we do these things. But I found out through Tom that photos matter, to the point that Tom did a presentation where he didn't talk at all. Now, I haven't gotten bold enough to do that with council. I freaking want to, though. I just want to get up and do my department presentation and just hit a bunch of slides of Parks and Rec having this incredible impact and not saying a word to council and just letting the moment of the photos and the impact of those photos really say with 1,000 words what I really don't articulate very well at all. And then I've really hammered home to council that, we're the memory makers. And so I've stolen a lot from a lot of different people, but those two pop out almost instantly as things that I think have helped us in budget process, have helped us in our conversations, have helped show our impact as far as the Parks and Rec department on the city of Pflugerville. And I don't know if it wasn't for those 2 conversations that I got to be involved in, if I'd be doing the presentations and having the impact in that way. So I'm very thankful for those opportunities, that we've had and to be involved in those conversations specifically.
I think if I had to say one thing, it would be that I've learned that leadership is going to be unique to each person. It doesn't have to be the same style, same way it's done. And I'm going to almost like in a way praise Shane for this, which I hate to.
Come on now. Hold on. Let me make sure it's recording. Hold on. It's recording. Go.
When I was early in my career and I was kind of like developing my philosophy on leadership, I might have thought it kind of had to be done one way. And you dress the part, you speak the part, and all those things. Because growing up, like leaders that I looked up to, like it might have always had a shirt and a tie or a button down or whatever it may be, and look professional.
But then there's Shane.
Well, yes. So fast forward to 2026, we just presented together a couple weeks ago, and our presentation is very different than that. It's this kind of like yin and yang to show that, like, no, there is not just one way. And I don't want to say that I always thought there was just one way, but like even just to the point of like how you do some things, like it's great to be different. It's great to take your own approach on it. Great to have your own spin on it. You don't have to always dress up when it comes to like being a leader. So I think that's like the one thing I've taken away. And the more people we've talked to, the more people we've met, like everyone's got their own style. And I, in a way, sometimes take something for each of those from their styles because I respect and admire so many different people in the way that they lead. So that's just important to know, like build your own philosophy on it and do your thing. And, as long as you put your heart and effort into it, it's going to work.
Yeah, I agree with both of you. And Shane, if I had gone first, the Johnny O memory makers, I tell that to so many individuals now that he shared it with me. And shout out to Johnny O for being inducted into the California Parks and Recreation Hall of Fame.
That's incredible.
It is. And speaking of a really cool connection piece, Johnny was on the podcast. The 2 of you individuals are fortunate enough to have known him for quite some time. Yeah. I feel so blessed to have been able to meet him through this podcast because he is a top-notch individual, hands down, one of the best people you'll ever meet. And one of his colleagues, clearly the individuals he works with all feel the same. They reached out to us through Johnny and asked us to do a very quick word recognition. What comes to mind when you think of Johnny? And they put together this video compilation of a bunch of different colleagues, professionals from around the country. It included the 3 of us. So that's another one of those interesting connection stories from this podcast. So anyway, I would go that route, but the other one that I've used and I talk to and it always sticks in my head, maybe it was because we were in person, maybe just because this individual, like all of our guests, I respect so much, but it rings through. You hear something in a conversation in a podcast and it just sticks with you. And you guys all probably have those same moments like you discussed. And it was Linda Kwiatkowski. We were talking, this is almost like what Shane was talking about with elected officials, but I don't apply it just to elected officials and presenting to council. But she was talking about rejection. We were asking the question of, how did you advocate and get to where you wanted to be, especially given the time that she had some barriers to try to fight through. And her advice was something to the effect of, don't focus on what these people are against. Find out what they're for.
Mm-hmm.
And I think of that all the time now when I have conversations or create relationships with not just elected officials, but the other department heads or just every individual that you talk to, you understand very easily. It's I think it's human nature. We understand that they have no problem. Look at social media talking about what's a negative to them, right?
What divides us?
Yes, the divisive piece. But if we can just shift that narrative and focus on what brings them together, think of what that can do when you're trying to present to a board, where you're trying to just get some collaboration and work together, and just let alone show individuals that you have that human side. that you care about what these individuals care about just as much as what they don't.
Yeah, well said.
I really love that question just because I asked it. No, I think that's part of the conversation when I'm not part of this podcast and I'm talking to people about the podcast is everyone has some nugget that they took with them and applied it to their work. And so it's a pretty incredible byproduct. And that's probably what the intention was of this podcast was let's try to get
I don't even
different
know.
philosophies out there.
It was just we wanted to get together.
We wanted to talk.
We wanted to talk. We wanted to create a space that we created thousands of times in person at NRPA, but not in a loud space with thousands of other people around us where you're going to get interrupted by a dozen other individuals. So that's really what it was, just for the three of us to be able to talk and bring someone that we wanted to learn a little bit more about. And yeah, you mentioned the tidbits. Whenever we are presenting or I'm at a session as an attendee, I always say the number one. I just want to be able to take one thing away. I know realistically going into a session, there's going to be maybe a description that I was excited about, but it really wasn't what I was hoping for or whatever it may be. So this podcast has a very similar theme to that. And you said it, Jeff, I would love to find an individual who's listened to an episode and can't say that they can just take one thing from one of these guests. And my wife is not in the profession. She's a teacher. She has listened to every episode. And every time she comes back and says, I got to tell you what I learned about this episode. I loved this. It's amazing. And it doesn't have to be about Parks and Recreation. It's approach, it's leadership, all these themes that you can use in so many different facets of life or in your own job, wherever that may be.
It's funny because we definitely didn't try to make an impact. I mean, when I reached out to these guys and asked, do you want to do this? I think we just thought we'd have cool conversations and it would be a mental health break, and we like each other and we kind of like each other's perspectives. And I thought it was a way that we could hang out a little bit more and have these cool moments that we've been fortunate to have where we have a conversation with Nile or someone else and we'd walk away thinking, man, it's a shame only 5, 6, 7, whoever was around that table got to hear it. There's no way that we thought we'd be speaking at conferences or being able to do scholarships and having some sort of profound impact where other people are taking these nuggets away and talking to other people about nuggets and making these connections with other people that are fans and maybe even become guests. And there's none of that. It really, there's no way we would have thought that was, and there's no way we thought we'd last 100 episodes. I think we thought at some point, I think we doggedly wanted to get to 20 because there was some stat that only 3% of the podcast get to 20. And I think in our head, we thought, okay, if we get to 20, cool. we've made it past some mythical barrier or whatever, but like, there's no way that we thought we would have this impact. Not that I did for sure.
Funny story on that too, just to add a little bit really quick a story. I reached out to the Savannah Bananas. I don't know if I even told you guys this, but I reached out to them probably season 2. And I said, I just want someone. I don't necessarily want the big guy that has to come here, but someone from your team, your marketing team. What you all do is amazing. I wrote them this nice email. They communicated back, invited them on as a podcast guest, and they said, well, call us back when you get, or email us back when you get to maybe 75 or 100 episodes. We typically don't talk to individuals or podcasts that haven't made it to that plateau. So, Savannah Bananas, if for whatever reason there's anybody that surrounds you that we have a connection to,
we coming for you.
Out. Yes, we're coming for you again. We made it. And to that point of lasting, I don't know how serious we took this at the beginning. I can't speak for Jay and Shane. It got serious at some point. I don't really remember when that was. But yeah, think about anything you try. It's like a resolution. There was a very good chance that this was going to fizzle. Oh yeah, guys, we're gonna meet every week and get someone to have a conversation with us every week. Yeah, we could have very easily got to 10 or 20 and started the excuses starting to pour in of I can't make it. This isn't working.
So the goal was to try to become more than work friends, and yet here you are, 99 episodes later, still arguing about it.
Work colleagues, industry.
Depends who you
Co-work.
ask. The definition might be different.
Professional friends. It's just come on.
That's
Side
fine.
note, I think Shane and I could talk about all the ways he's impacted me in my leadership and working with him, but Shane wears real pants now. So that's one of my greatest accomplishments.
Incredible.
Yeah. Yeah. Stretchy. They're not even stretchy.
No
I
stretchy
still have
pants.
room for activities,
or
though.
fake. Yeah.
They might be stretchy-ish, but
Hey,
yeah, they're not fake pants.
I've also got him to go outside the box and not just drink Monster.
Yeah.
That's true.
We've seen a lot of growth.
He's an Alani guy now.
I know. And if you would have told someone that 3 years ago, he would have laughed in your face.
Incredible.
Real pants and Alanis. You're a different man.
Different.
Okay, we'll end it there for part 1. Join us next week for part 2. This episode of RecLess wouldn't have been possible without the support of our agencies and our better halves, Melissa Salatino, Lindsay Tryon, and our executive producer, Hannah Mize. We also want to thank our director of hashtags and swag, Rooney Taylor, and our team of junior producers, Luke, James, Elizabeth, Grant, and Harper. Stay up to date on all things RecLess by following all of our social media and like and subscribe wherever you get your podcast to ensure you don't miss an episode. See you next time on RecLess.